Hi, Kim. We're so glad to have you on Nourish Noshes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
for
were
sure.
so interested to hear about your story about this wonky diagnosis that you had and how that completely changed your life in the middle of your life. You're in your 50s and it completely rocked your world.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, yeah, I am of a certain age. That's how I like to say it now. I'm of a certain age. But I was 50 when I just didn't start. I started not feeling well. I mean, super fatigued. And I don't mean tired. I mean fatigued, where it felt like you were walking through deep water every day.
Mm.
And I worked outside the home at that time in corporate America. And I had to be on the road a lot because I was a sales and marketing director. So I had to drive a lot. And I would find myself falling asleep as I was driving. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, do I have narcolepsy? Seriously, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because I was just nodding off. And then my skin started becoming snake-like, really not chapped, but scaly. And I'm going, there's something seriously wrong. And I lost, and I'm a tall, thin person, always have been, have never really had an issue with weight my whole life. And that's a blessing. But I lost within 31 days, I lost 33 pounds.
Wow.
And on my frame, I looked skeletal. People were saying, what are you doing, Kim? Stop losing weight. And I was at the doctor constantly, getting all kinds of blood work done.
Mhm.
And I was initially diagnosed type 2. And they, put me on metformin and all the regular stuff that they do for that. And I just kept getting worse and worse.
Wow.
And I couldn't eat. It got to the point where I couldn't eat.
And you couldn't
And
eat because you
it
had an
was
upset
awful.
stomach, or you couldn't eat because nothing tasted good?
Whenever I ate, I didn't get nauseous or sick to my stomach, but it was like my whole body, I became more tired.
Oh, like
It
your body couldn't process
it
food.
was odd. And
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to explain how I felt. I literally, all I wanted to do was sleep. And you couldn't do that when you're working full time, and I started missing an awful lot of work. I mean, a lot of work because
Yeah.
I literally couldn't drag myself to even get showered. And I'm going, is this depression? Oh my goodness. I thought I was losing my mind and that I was doing this all to myself, because we all know what stress can do to your body.
That's right.
And
Right.
I live with PTSD. So I thought, okay, well, is that kicking in and
Right.
I'm not aware of it? Am I losing my mind? What's wrong?
Right.
And you're stressed because you don't feel well. It took the doctors about a year to figure out, oh, you have LADA diabetes. You don't have type 1. You don't have type 2. Some people call it 1.5,
Right.
but it's called LADA, LADA. And there's really no form of like solid treatment for it. And it's a case by case basis. And when they sent it to the endo and he said, she's got this, we're treating her completely wrong. And then I immediately had to go on insulin. So now I am insulin dependent. I have to take 4 shots a day. And it's 2 different kinds of insulin. I had to literally change my entire life. I had to change how I looked at food, how I thought about food, how I ate food, what I ate, and when I ate. And you have to change your entire life around your insulin pens.
Right.
And that I was so happy that they finally figured out what was going on. And I slowly started, oh, I also was losing all kinds of hair. That was another one. It was just an awful, awful year. And I slowly started feeling better. And I noticed that my hair wasn't thinning anymore and it was actually getting thicker. And the scaliness went away. And I started gaining a little bit of weight back and looking more healthy. But it's been such a roller coaster because it's a day by day thing. Literally, it's a day by day thing. I might be in the 300s all day one day for my sugar numbers. Oh, I'm sorry. As I say that,
Your
my
numbers.
alarm is going off.
Yes.
My sugar alarm's going off.
How appropriate.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No, it's
so-
completely
so
appropriate.
Literally, that's all. I have a sensor.
Yeah.
They got me a sensor. So I have a sensor in my arm now because I fluctuate. So obviously it's dropping low. That's what it's telling me. It's dropping low right now.
Well, we could take a pause. You need to go get something?
No, I'm good. I literally just wolfed down something before I got on here. It just hasn't caught up yet.
Right.
Okay.
It takes about 15 minutes, and it's been a journey. And to, you have a sensor in your arm and you have to make sure you have your phone on you at all times. And if you leave the house, you got to make sure you have your insulin pens with you and your glucometer with you. And traveling is interesting when you have to carry all of that stuff with you. And it changed my entire life.
Of course.
I'm still getting used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I'm thankful, very, very thankful that they figured out what it is.
Right.
And now we know what it is. There's a name for it. Let's see how we can live with this the best that we can, because it's with me for life now. And I just say I've got a wonky pancreas that just says poop on you. I don't feel like working today.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I regularly argue with my pancreas
That you probably were not even aware of before this, something you don't think about.
Well, no, I literally didn't know what a pancreas did.
Yeah.
Well, why would you? Why that wasn't ever a focus of mine on a day-to-day basis prior to all of this, but
well, and that's what's so interesting about food and taking care of ourselves. So many things are automatically happening in our body that we don't pay attention to, that we don't know, that are really magical and mystical things that are happening until it goes wonky. And then we have all eyes and radar on it. And so often we're walking through life and things are happening, we're feeling a little bit off, but because it's like these little tiny paper cuts over time, we don't really realize how we're degrading. So with this disease, it sounded like it happened kind of like an overnight for you. Is that true?
It was going on for about a year before it was figured out what it was.
Right. But your symptoms, how quickly?
It was a slow progression. That fatigue kicked in first.
Okay.
I'm like, why am I so tired? So I was like, you got to check my thyroid, because my sister had thyroid cancer. So I'm like, please check my thyroid. And they checked all this blood work and they're like, you're fine. Your A1C is a little elevated, but we're not concerned about that right now. Just tweak your diet. So, but then I started the weird skin and my hair falling out, and then that weight. So this was months. And again, living with PTSD over the years, I have found that like when those triggers start happening, right, or the sleepless nights start happening and the nightmares come back for seemingly no reason, I will be stressed and tensed, shoulders up, and my face starts hurting because I'm gritting my teeth all the time. You don't realize it. Right. So I was like, okay, I'm stressing myself out and I'm making myself ill. That's what I thought. Right. And my doctors, knowing my background, looked at that too first.
Right.
Which I understand. Right. But then it just kept getting worse. I'm going, you guys have to figure this out because this is awful. And I had to take a leave of absence from my job because I literally couldn't work. I couldn't function. It was not fun. It was not a fun time. And so that was it was like over a period of about 12 months. Mm-hmm. And then they did put me on insulin, but then, metformin, you're diabetic. I'm like, why? Because everybody thinks when you think diabetes, overweight and overeating. Right. That's just like the stereotype. Right. I've never been overweight. And I actually have to remind myself to eat. I'm not a stress eater or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I have to, and I've just been one of those people. I'll be like, oh my goodness, it's 2:00. I should have ate lunch. I better grab a sandwich. Prior to this diagnosis, that's how I was. Right. But now everything is very regimented and on a schedule and all of that. But sorry.
So I'm curious about your mindset around around food, around eating, around your your wellness now? Like, I'd love to hear about how that has shifted. I mean, I'm sure it's continuing to shift. It's not something that just shifted and now it's in a new place. It's an ongoing transition into the new Kim. And so I'm curious about that. Tell me some of your insight on that.
I was very depressed. I became very depressed.
Yeah. Right.
I was sad and depressed, thinking, well, now I have to change my whole life. I can't eat. And this is how the beginning stages.
Yep.
I can't eat anything I like. I have to eat all this stuff that has no taste. And I'm not supposed to eat anything white, so it seemed like it was overwhelming because all this information, they assigned me 4 people. So I had a 4-person team that I had to talk to once a week for months and months.
Oh, wow.
Months and months, because it was so out of control. And it was just frustrating. I was frustrated, sad, and depressed, actually. But then I'm like, okay, Kim, pull up your big girl panties. This is your life now. So what's the point in being angry? You can't change it. So sit down, and figure out what it is you're going to do.
Yeah.
So, obviously listen to the doctors and the nutritionist, but then also you got to listen to your own self, and you have to be happy eating. I don't want to sit there and be like, okay, I'll eat this. I'll eat, broccoli and beans.
Right.
How incredibly boring. So I started, getting online and finding different recipes and different diabetic type things, and kind of mixing and matching all of these different things from these different diets, and finding what works for me, what still tastes good, and what I still can enjoy, only in very tiny portions. Because I love cookies. Love them.
Yeah.
And I would just grab 2 or 3 and, eat them as I'm walking out to the car to go to work.
Right.
Well, I can't do that, because even one cookie makes my sugar go screaming.
Wow.
So I have to be very careful. So even with sweet stuff, I've changed, from like milk chocolate to dark chocolate. I'm like, okay, and that's a special treat. So that Ghirardelli chocolate with like the raspberry stuff in the middle of the square. Oh my goodness. So I will get those, but I'll have one square and just kind of nibble at it. Take a couple nibbles and then wrap it up in its tiny little package and put it back on top of the fridge and go, okay, that was awesome. Now pretend that you don't want to eat the rest of it. So you learn.
Yeah.
And it is a day-to-day thing. Like you said, it is definitely, it's a day-to-day thing. So today I'm craving pizza since I woke up. I'm like, I really want pizza. Should I have pizza? No. Will I have some? Probably.
Right.
But I have different kinds of pizzas, and most of them have all veggies and stuff, or I doctor them up with veggies and all kinds of the good stuff. And I'll just have one piece as opposed to the 2 or 3 that I would prefer.
Right.
Because if I have more than that one small piece, within an hour, my sugar's screaming high. An hour after that, it plummets.
Right.
It just drops.
Right.
So my phone alarm just continues to go off all day. And that's actually frustrating too, because you're going, I didn't do anything wrong. I ate everything I was supposed to eat. Why is this alarm? Why am I dropping so much?
Yeah.
It's you really do have to change your mindset to not become frustrated and depressed every single day.
Right. Right.
Totally
new approach with food. And it's hard to say, but so many people aren't paying attention to their body at all until they get the alarm. So you used to eat 2 or 3 slices of pizza and 2 or 3 cookies, running out to the car. What else has changed in your mindset and your habits that have been of service in looking to handle this?
Well, one of the main things is because I am of a certain age and having diabetes and being a female in her 50s is not great for your heart.
Mhm.
I mean, I could have a heart attack. I could go into a sugar coma. I could pass out if my sugar drops. I'm walking through the store and if it plummets so far and I can't put something in my mouth, I can pass out.
Right.
So that's actually scary to think about. There's been 2 times where I was not home and it dropped so fast. I was in the store the one time and it dropped so fast. I was leaning on my cart and I just grabbed whatever I could off the shelf, opened it and started shoving it in my mouth. My phone alarm's going off. People are looking at me. I'm sweating because I pour down sweat when it drops. And that was scary. I had to sit in my car once I got out there. I had to sit there for a good 10 minutes before my hands stopped shaking and I stopped sweating and kept checking my sugar to, see if it was, and it was starting to creep up slowly. So those types of things, you've got the frightening aspect of it.
Right.
And you never know with the type I have and with me, because it's different for everybody. It's not fun trying to get used to fear because I prefer to not have fear land. I prefer to have it bounce. So if I feel that coming, and it is scary when it happens, and I live on my own, it's me and my dog. So there's that worry, that little nugget of worry, because sometimes it'll drop while I'm sleeping.
Right.
And until I had this sensor, a big blessing, my dog would come and nudge me, jump up in bed, start nudging me. And I'm like, why are you waking me up?
Wow.
And then I would sit up on the edge of the bed and I'd be going, oh, I'm dizzy. Oh my gosh, what's going on? So I'd hurry up and check prick my finger. I'm going, oh my goodness. My dog's not trained for that. It just so happened that he
They've got
sensed something. And and they say that dogs can smell.
Right.
Yes.
When your sugar drops, because you start to smell a little sweeter or something. But he's not trained for that. And I told my doctor, I said, you have to get me the sensor. My dog's not trained for that. And I go, and he's done this for me twice, woken me up out of a dead sleep.
Yeah, that's
so
amazing.
Yes, your whole entire life changes.
Yeah.
And I can't remember your question. I'm just rambling. I have no idea where I'm going with that.
You've answered it.
Yeah.
What? Because of this fear connecting you to so close to death, I'll use the word
mortality.
Right? Your mortality. Has it changed how you approach life or doing things differently, reading different? But like, where's your attitude? Where's your action?
Yes, it has. I have tightened my circle.
Yes. Yeah.
And some were happy and some weren't, and that's okay.
Yes. Because
at this point in my life, and it even still sounds selfish, but I have to make it about me. I've been married and raised a daughter. She's in her 30s now. And I've given and given and given and given. And now I realize, you know what? In order to take care of myself physically, I also have to really focus on mentally, because it's all part and package. It all goes together. You guys know that. I wish more people did. I wish more people did realize that they might be a little happier.
Well, and that's why you have a podcast, and that's why we have a podcast, is to help people feel better.
Right. To get that word out there, toss those little nuggets of hope out there.
Exactly.
That is right. So, the whole mindset on every aspect of my life. So I tightened my circle. I don't accept drama of any sort at all. And I'm very firm on that.
So you created new boundaries.
Yes, new boundaries. And I listen. I do read things. I read different things than I used to. I do watch television. When I watch television, I very rarely watch television anymore. But when I do, it's mellow, feel good stuff, you know. And I enjoy nature and adore my dog. So I am outside whenever I can be, no matter the weather, with my dog. And so I walk a couple miles a day with my dog. I live in the country, so we're always out in the fields and the woods and things like that. I read a lot. I started crocheting.
Nice.
Just different things like that that keeps me busy or gets my mind elsewhere. So I'm not sitting there going, oh my goodness, that was a really tough day. My sugar dropped like 4 times, because it's exhausting when it happens.
Right.
About an hour afterwards, you just want to lay down.
Yeah. Right.
And when all of this happened, I did end up losing my job.
Mm.
The pandemic also hit too at the same time. So it was just
wow.
It was just it was a ball of beauty, I tell you. So I just decided at that point too, that was another big shift in my life. I said, I'm not sending out resumes. I'm not going back to corporate America. I'm going to make something happen. And it's a huge, huge risk, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So that was a big decision that friends and family were, I got a lot of pushback, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But I was, I had to do what's right for me. And so going close to 3 years now, I made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was bumpy. The whole road's been bumpy, but wow, did I learn a lot. And it's been super fun.
Yeah, it's a brand new ride.
It is. It is. So, I'm maintaining, and I'm slowly, I tell people are like, well, oh my gosh, it's been almost 3 years. I'm like, do you have any idea? Have you ever tried your own business or did your own thing? Then don't put a ruler up to how you think I should be doing, because that's not your business.
Right.
Yeah.
This is my life.
Right.
And if I'm not going as fast as you think I should be, quite honestly, I don't care. It's just being honest. It's not being mean or negative.
Right.
But I can't let other people tell me how they think I should be doing my life. That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
So
and it took a long time to realize that too, because when you're, a wife, a mom, you're constantly giving. And then all of a sudden it's you got the empty nest and it's you. You're going, oh, who actually am I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
And then, this whole health thing comes and you're like, oh, who am I now?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of shifting, and I'm just thankful that I do have in my circle, they're wonderful people. And I have a very strong willpower, and I'm stubborn and persistent. So my mindset is, this isn't going to get me. It might knock me down for 10 minutes, but be darned if I'm letting this take me down any longer than that.
Right.
So that's kind of how I'm stubborn.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Being of a certain age as we are.
That's right.
We are.
Yay!
Company.
That's right. I imagine that you also went through the change of, maybe you did, of menopause around the same time. Is that true?
No, it was about a year prior to all of this happening. I had to have a full hysterectomy.
Oh, so I'm wondering if that was somewhat, I'm sure on some level.
I asked them.
Yeah.
I asked them, I said, does that have something to do? But I still have one ovary left. They left that one little guy hanging out in there. So I didn't ever have to go on hormones or anything like that. And I never really experienced symptoms of menopause or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was another weird thing that they were looking at.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's some level of connection there. Hormones are everything. There was probably something triggered something else hormonally.
I'm sure.
That. So that's,
and I didn't even realize that insulin is a hormone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right.
Well, you didn't need to know before, or didn't
No.
think you needed to know before, and now here you are. It sounds like you're a huge advocate for yourself and realize that you had to take full responsibility for yourself, which a lot of people don't get, who think they're walking around feeling okay. You know, we are responsible for ourselves, and I think we need to keep putting that message out there that feeling and being healthy is our own personal responsibility, and
Right.
we need to make time and investments. And I also just want to reflect that you were talking about finding things that nourished you, your dog, the outdoors, crocheting, you know, you're being fed by all these other wonderful things in your life. um and like you said in the very beginning, it's all connected.
Yes. Yes. And I'm an author, so I have found that I'm writing a lot more too.
Tell
And I
us the
like how
name of your book.
excuse me.
Tell us the name of your book.
I have numerous books, but the most recent one is called When Hope Found Me.
Ah, all right.
So
And
intrigued.
it's a collaborative effort. It's an anthology, and the next one that's going to come out in April is called Paw Prints on the Couch.
All right.
Oh, great
So
title.
we're going to provide links to, I imagine you have a website where people can get hold of these books. So good. Yes, we'll have that on our
Please.
podcast page.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I started it. That's something I started putting a lot more effort into when I found myself at home full time.
right, exactly.
And decided to make my own thing happen. So that's what I started doing: coordinating anthologies, writing my own books, starting a podcast, and I have a little TV show.
So with every hardship, there are gifts. And
Yes.
perhaps the universe provided this for you, this gift of this wonky diabetes, in order for you to create and have what you're learning to have now. You know, it's sort of, you know, life gives us things, and it's sort of that whole saying is life, you know, gives you a lemon and you make lemonade kind of thing. So you're making lemonade right now.
Right. You know, when I look back, and I always envision, I'm a very visual person, so I'm always getting little pictures in my head. But if I look back, I look at it like a path with stepping stones.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're seemingly thrust into this, but then when you have hindsight, you know, 6 months down the road, you can turn and look back and see how those stepping stones were weaving. And maybe one was underwater for a little bit, but then it came up out of that puddle on the other side. You know, you can see how that path was laid out and why. And another analogy is that I've been using lately is you get this hallway of doors.
Mm-hmm.
And it might feel like life is just slamming all these doors in your face. Well, let them close. Let them close, because they're meant to close. They're closing for a reason. But if you just keep your eyes open, quit looking down and being all boo-hoo, woe is me. Don't play the woe is me card. Mm-hmm. There's a warrior in every single person. Don't play the woe is me card. It's super easy to do. But dig down in there and just pull that little warrior voice out and say, all right, I'm going to lift up my head, lift up my eyes. I'm looking down this dang hallway. So all these doors are shut, but oh my goodness, look at that one. It's cracked open. Look at that one down there. Ooh, there's light coming through. Yeah. So walk tall and proud down there, sweet pea. Peek in that door and say, maybe that's where I'm supposed to go. You know? So look at it as a hallway. Just let the door shut.
Yeah.
Let them shut. Yes. Because if they're shutting for a reason.
Yeah.
You're entering into a different season.
Yeah.
You know, and it's too easy. It's too easy to let yourself become depressed, go into that dark spot. It's way too easy.
It is.
And once you're there, it becomes very easy to stay there.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You don't wanna. There's too many colors. There's too many colors out there to see.
That's right. That's right.
You know, so don't let that dark black and gray envelope you, or envelop you, however you like to pronounce the word. There's all kinds of colors out there. Keep your eyes open and your heart open. And there's little hope nuggets everywhere. Everywhere, no matter what situation you're in. And I'm not downplaying any situation that someone's in. I mean, I have dear friends that are just going through amazingly tough things right now. But there's always a nugget of hope somewhere. I'm going to start crying. There's always a nugget of hope somewhere. No matter how poopy your day might feel, or you think that your life has just turned to poop. Maybe it has. But get a shovel.
That's right.
That's right.
You know, there's little nuggets of hope everywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you got to keep moving forward. Got to keep
Absolutely.
Kim,
Yes.
tell everybody where they can find all this rich content that you have, your website. Tell our listeners about it.
Yeah, it's the best place is just to hop on my website, which is my name. It's kimlenglingauthor.com. And I'm assuming you guys will have that typed out, or would you like me to spell it?
Spell it in case someone's just listening.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's Kim Lengling, KIMLENGLING author.com. And all my stuff is on there. You can see what I'm doing, what I've done, and what I've got coming up in the future.
Excellent.
We've so enjoyed speaking with you and your energy, and love how you've bounced back, and you've really, you're taking a really tough situation and you're turning your life into something much more rich and beautiful.
Right.
Thank you. And I appreciate you having me on the show. It was an absolute pleasure.
It was absolutely a pleasure. We
too.
love your resiliency and your positive attitude about, life throws a bunch of stuff at us, and it's our choice what we do with it. And you demonstrated a beautiful little vignette of how you could present these things. So I love it.
Thank you.